future, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello, friends. It's Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, July 27th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Monday edition of Weaponized News. Quite a bit to get to today. Shadow President Millet is on his way, probably already here, to visit Trump and the rest of the war criminals in Washington, D.C. Take a little look at that. The ins and outs of the Iran war here on day 149 of the Iran war. Trump continues to claim he's negotiating with the Iranians. The Iranians say he's not. Who's he talking to? Somebody's lying. Probably all of them are lying. Take a look at this. Updated. And the Pentagon keeps playing games with the troop death toll and injury tolls. They've been making adjustments. We have the latest fallen troop numbers and wounded troop numbers. Number of dead Iranians now, according to Iran, or this is actually according to the New York Times. Take a look at the death tolls on both sides. It's all quite horrific and unnecessary. Few people coming online right now. Shout out to Mac on the YouTube. They released Dr. Fauci's diary. It was released by a Senate investigation conducted by Senator Rand Paul. We'll take a little bit of a look at the Fauci diary. I don't know how much we can even report. Fauci saved everybody's life. I don't know what else they want me to say. You know what I mean? Saved us all from the bats. And so, I mean, my gosh. A little bit late here on the Fauci revelations. We reported at the time, about much of this, why we had so many problems with community guidelines, let's just say. Got a little bit of illegal alien news. They're giving out medal of service medals at the Pentagon for securing the southern border. Former top Border Patrol commander Greg Bavino, remember the Nazi dude? It was like right out of Central Casting. Looking and acting like a Nazi. Anyway, he confirms what we already knew. IDF is training Border Patrol and ICE agents. Take a look at some of those reports. We've got Epstein reporting as per usual. A whole lot of reporting on the economy. Quite a bit of economic reporting here. We have geopolitical news, Russia-Ukraine news. We've got the war on drugs news. They're saying after whacking all of these fishermen, narco drug traffickers, hasn't stopped cocaine, but we did get to murder a bunch of people. So I guess that's really all that matters. Take a look at those reports, the quasi-secret drug war going on. What else do we got? A bunch more out of, they're continuing the demolition campaign there in Lebanon and Gaza as well, and the occupied West Bank. We have all that news for you and much more on this Monday edition of Weaponized News. Thank you for joining us. Let's get to this day in history. Then we'll get to all this news. On this day of July 27th, we go back to the year 1377. We saw the first example of quarantine in Ragusa. City council passes a law stating newcomers from plague areas must isolate for 30 days. on this day, 1377. 1549 on this day, we saw the first Christian missionary in Japan, a Jesuit priest, Francis Xavier, reaches Japan, but is not permitted to enter any port until August 15th. 1586. 1586 on this day, Walter Raleigh brings the first tobacco to England from Virginia. 1794 on this day. No, 1789, excuse me. 1789, U.S. Congress establishes the Department of Foreign Affairs, now referred to as the State Department. And our foreign policy is to bomb you, so there are great diplomats there at the State Department. 1794, on this day, Maximilien Robespierre is overthrown in coup in Paris. Fall of Maximilien Robespierre. On this day in 1830, July Revolution begins in France. July Revolution breaks out in Paris, opposing the laws of King Charles V. 1866. 1866, on this day, we saw the first transatlantic telegraph cable comes ashore at Heart's Content, Newfoundland, after being laid out 1,686 miles by Isambard Kingdom Burnell's Great Eastern steamship. 1890. 1890, on this day, Dutch painter Vincent van Gogh shoots himself in a suicide attempt and dies of his injuries 2 days later. So he indeed did kill himself there, tragically enough. 1919. 1919, on this day, we saw riots in Chicago, kill 15 white people, kill 23 black people, and injure another 500 in those riots. 1940, on this day, Bugs Bunny, Warner Brothers cartoon character created by Tex Avery and Bob Givens for Looney Tunes series, debuts in A Wild Hare. 1945, on this day, U.S. Communist Party forms. 1953, we see the end of the Korean War. On this day, 1953, North Korea and the United Nations sign armistice to stop fighting and divide Korea at the 38th parallel. And on this day in 1965, then U.S. President Lyndon Baines Johnson signs a bill requiring cigarette manufacturers to print health warnings about the effects of smoking on all cigarette packages. Cigarette Labeling and Advertising Act, signed into law on this day in 1965. And then onto our civil liberties history. In our civil liberties history, on this day, 1970, President Nixon, at the time, withdraws approval for Houston Plan for spying, illegal actions against Americans. Nixon, on this day, canceled the Houston Plan, which called for illegal and repressive actions against anti-Vietnam War activists and other political radicals, on which he had previously ordered developed on June 5th, 1970. Nixon wanted action because of the massive student protests against the Vietnam War that began on May 1st, 1970. Nixon originally approved the plan on July 14th, 1970. The plan was named after Tom Charles Houston, a Nixon administration staff person who specialized in national security, and I would add specialized in tyranny in violation of our natural rights. The exact reason why Nixon canceled the plan are still unclear. Most historians believe that J. Edgar Hoover, despite his own history of illegal actions against the American people, convinced Nixon to do it. Some historians believe that Hoover did not want other agencies, especially the CIA, intruding on his turf. Otherwise, others argue that Hoover, aware of changing public attitudes on secret government actions, was worried about public exposure of some of the proposed actions. The government are criminals. You're going to tell me law and order? They're doing crimes against the American people. Give me a friggin' break. The government's an organized crime syndicate. On this day in our civil liberties history, 1974, then President Richard Nixon's impeached by the House of Representatives. On this day, the House of Representatives adopted articles of impeachment against Richard Nixon for abuses of power related to the Watergate scandal and other abuses of power. Nixon resigned as president, the only president to do so, before the Senate could vote on whether to convict or remove him from office, and then was subsequently pardoned by his replacement, Ford, right? So the government's organized crime syndicate, insulating themselves from justice for the crimes they've done against the American people. Truly disgusting. Vote harder in November, bro. Here's our segue to the news. Here's Bibi and his wife speaking in their I got phlegm in my throat language. We'll just play a little bit of it.
וושינגטון לפגישה עם ידידנו נשיא ארצות הברית דונלד טראמפ. זו הפגישה השמינית שלי איתו מאז שהוא נבחר לנשיא בקדנציה השנייה שלו.
Yeah. So they're fighting now, I guess, for who's going to win the title of most corrupt man in the world. Shadow President of America, Milei, or other puppet President Trump. Milei went on to say here, he said, this is my 8th meeting with Trump since he was elected president in his 2nd term. I'm glad we have such great communication and interaction from our shadow president Milei there. More than any other international leader. Yeah, we know. Bibi departed for Washington to meet Trump, confirming he will travel to New York for the UN General Assembly, despite an active warrant from the ICC over crimes against humanity. Netanyahu also commented that his meeting with Trump, which is the 8th since his 2nd term, is the most of any international leader. Well, thanks for at least coming to say hi to America here. He went on to say in an X post that in our meeting, we will discuss all the issues on the table with Iran at the forefront. Our goal is clear: to safeguard aardvark land security. So I'm glad that's a top priority for Trump there and Shadow President Milei. Here's Trump. I don't know. I guess we have to classify the people still following along and falling for this scam as literal children. They have the intellect and mindset of a child, and it's very sad, honestly. And here's Trump mocking his MAGA people.
The people that count, those people love Trump. Because I've done more for you than your parents, okay? Your parents are good. I'm not going to knock your parents, but I have been better to you than your parents. That I can tell you. And they would agree with me. Wherever they may be, they would agree.
Yep. So literally mocking his MAGA followers there. Apparently they love it. Apparently they're like sadomasochists or something and love being lied to, conned, abused. It's a very sad state of affairs for these people. Here's some AI goy slop, as they call it, pumped out by the White House over the weekend. Garbage. And one commenter said, what's the point of that? Trump gets eaten by an alien at the end. Ridiculous. Here's Ted Cruz, senator out of Texas, defending his real country.
Well, I will say the question you asked is not an honest description of what that is. We're not
Netanyahu wrote a letter to Congress saying exactly that.
We're not merging anything, and that's silliness. We cooperate with our allies, and there are a lot of folks that are pushing misinformation on this issue online.
I think it
literally says it in section 219 of the NDAA. So Ted Cruz is a traitor to this country, a lying piece of trash, if you didn't already know, reaffirming said point. Oh, it's just misinformation. It literally states it in the freaking NDAA. And so they just lie to your face and laugh in your face. Trump reposted an article about Tucker Carlson that claims Carlson has aardvark derangement syndrome by Wayne Root, big old Zionist piece of garbage too. There you go. Aardvark derangement syndrome, really? So allegedly, Mitch McConnell's proof of life photo is put out by his office. I reported a week and a half ago. I forget that he had passed away, according to Kentucky governor, and and that was very underreported. He was saying in an interview with Katie Couric. Remember that? He said he had two sources tell him Mitch McConnell is no longer with us. And that's the reporting I was going by at that time. So very sketchy, to say the least, here now. But proof of life, they allege, out of Mitch McConnell's office. Call me skeptical. I have my doubts. They're a bunch of criminals, his staff, right? Trying to figure out what do we do. Our racketeer, or the head racketeer here, is no longer able to run the crime syndicate. So they're trying to figure out what to do right now. They should all be in prison, along with his Chinese spy wife, him, and everybody that works for him, for sedition against this country, straight up. Of course, that will never happen. But if we had justice, as they love to scream all day, that's actually what would happen. Here's Bibi reminding Fox News War Channel what would happen if Iran nuked us, pumping that fear.
Because just imagine, what would happen if this regime that chants death to America, that's their real goal, death to America, if they had nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to where you're sitting right now, Maria, to New York or to Washington or to any city in the United States, this would be a mortal peril to every citizen in the United States. And obviously, President Trump and I are both committed to prevent this danger to the United States, to the peace of the world, and to Israel. And I can tell you that we'll pursue all the means to prevent that. So yes, we pushed it back, but it doesn't mean that you can't have the attempt to restore it. And we have to be on the constant watch so it doesn't.
So he's like backhandedly threatening us. And then also there always has to be that boogeyman out there, right? Garbage. Reporters asked Trump about selling F-35 jets to Turkey. And Trump says Turkey has been a great ally and that nobody, especially Milei, or he says Netanyahu, can tell him what he can and can't sell. Turkey's not a big fan of aardvark land. Turkey has been a great ally, he said, when asked about pushback from Shadow President Milei about selling these F-35 jets to Turkey. Here's Senator Jim McGovern about this Iran war.
of outcry. I mean, the last 4 soldiers, they were taken off the list of the dead because they died after President Trump declared ceasefire. They've been added back, as well as apparently something like 140 soldiers who've been hurt, adding to something like well over 600 injured and 18 killed. That's U.S. Iran, we don't know the numbers.
Yeah, the lack of candor is concerning in and of itself. But the fact that the Secretary of Defense goes before the Senate.
The lack of candor. They're lying criminals. The lack of candor.
And says, give me tens of billions of dollars more for this war, when they still have tens of billions of dollars in unspent money, tells you that they're thinking of a war that's going to go on for quite some time. Look, I mean, our defense bill budget now is going to be like $1.6 trillion when all is put together. I mean, that's like unbelievable. I mean, I think Dr. Strangelove would be impressed with that number. And you know, I'm a big critic of this administration, but even by their standards, listening to the Secretary of Defense speak before the Senate, I mean, he sounded like a lunatic. It sounded like there needed to be an intervention. He didn't answer the questions. And, you know, the questions that most people had is, you know, what is the strategy? What is the clearly defined mission? What is the goal? How do we get out of this? You know, when does this end? He had no idea. And he tried to make it.
It doesn't matter. Their answer is Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Trump said that today. When people ask you, what are we doing in Iran? Why are we having a war with them? They can't have a nuclear weapon. We've already thoroughly debunked that claim by Milei and Trump. Our own intelligence community and State Department at the beginning of the war debunked that claim. They one more time, it's so frustrating. They keep the propagandas and lies going. One more time, they said, our own intelligence community said Iran is not an imminent nuclear threat to the United States. But yet they keep the lie going. IRGC spokesman said the people of Iran should know, and they do know, that the ceasefire and the signing of the MOU were decisions made by the whole Iranian system. We were not deceived. Sardar Mohammadi, spokesperson for the IRGC, said, we will not allow the United States to use deceptive ceasefires to replenish its oil and ammunition reserves and then resume attacks. This is a message to them. You are deceitful. You have been deceitful before, and we will not allow you to continue down this path. However, this does not mean that we were deceived by the ceasefire and agreement. This message is for the United States. The people inside should know, and they do know, that we were not deceived inside the country. The decision to implement a ceasefire and sign an agreement was a decision made by the Iranian system. The IRGC is part of that system. And when the system makes a decision, the IRGC will certainly comply with that decision, and it has complied. We were not deceived here at all from the beginning. We have said that we do not trust the enemy. The enemy is deceitful, and we are ready. We will return to our previous state whenever necessary. We have truly taken advantage of the ceasefire opportunity. If you compare the United States oil reserves before and after the agreement, you will see that Washington has not been able to take advantage of this opportunity. It is not correct for anyone to generate propaganda and say that the United States took advantage of this opportunity and deceived us. Because there's a big thing, this big push. Oh yeah, Iran regime is fracturing, right? And there's infighting between the Supreme Commander, the IRGC, all these other apparatchiks in the Iranian system, and they're trying to, quill that talk with putting out this statement saying it's a unified Iranian front we're up against. And they're putting out these horrific videos. Iranian media targets Melania Trump. Iranian regime affiliated outlet Tasnim News reportedly aired a clip titled "How to Kill Melania Trump." They're kind of pissed. I mean, we rocked their supreme leader, his like bunch of their family, like 50 of their top dudes. They're kind of pissed. You know what I mean?
اسناد به کار رفته در این ویدیو حاصل استخراج اطلاعات از چند شبکه امنیتی ناشناس و تصاویر ماهواره‌ای است. تیم حفاظت ملانیا ترامپ مستقل از رئیس جمهور آمریکا عمل می‌کند. سرویس مخفی نیز برای او به جای رمز سنتی مرغ مقلد شناسه اختصاصی نیوز را به کار می‌برد. علاقه شدید ملانیا به داشتن ظاهری هماهنگ با استانداردهای مد به بزرگترین نقطه ضعف زندگیش تبدیل شده است. ملانیا علاقه خاصی به فروشگاه‌های زنجیره‌ای لوکس خیابان پنجم منهتن نیویورک نظیر برگدورف گودمن و ساکس فیفت آنیو دارد. این مکان‌ها می‌تواند برای عملیات آزادیخواهان جهان مناسب باشد. نشانه هایی که از قبل مشخص می‌کند ملانیا به این مراکز خواهد رفت و می‌توانید برای عملیات آماده باشید این است که برای جلوگیری از کارگزاری تله‌های انفجاری تمامی سطل‌های زباله در طول مسیر جمع آوری شده و در پوش‌های فاضلاب و مجاری زیرزمینی به طور کامل جوش داده می‌شوند. تیم پیشرو حفاظت مسیرهای اضطراری نزدیکترین بیمارستان‌های دارای مرکز ترومای سطح 1 را شناسایی و با نیروهای امدادی محلی هماهنگ می‌کنند. آشنایی با افراد حاضر در این بیمارستان‌ها یا استخدام در آنها می‌تواند اطلاعات حضور ملانیا را در اختیار شما بگذارد. در برخی مواقع او خریدهای خود را آنلاین از فروشگاه‌های ساکس فیفت آنیو در پلاک 611 خیابان پنجم، دیور در پلاک 23 خیابان 57 شرقی، نبش خیابان مدیسون، مایکل کورس در پلاک 610 خیابان پنجم، دولچه اند گابانا در پلاک 695 خیابان مدیسون و شعبه دیگرش در پلاک 717 خیابان پنجم انجام می‌دهد. راهکار انجام عملیات در خرید آنلاین جذب شدن در این فروشگاه‌ها و مسموم کردن لباس هاست. برای آلوده کردن لباس ها می توانید از عامل عصبی VX استفاده کنید. مایع روغنی، بی‌بو و بی‌مزه که از طریق لمس پوست وارد بدن شده و بعد از 2 الی 18 ساعت طعمه را از پای در می‌آورد. هسته اصلی طراحی لباس ها و استایل او نیز متشکل از هرو پیر، مردخای آلبو و نیکول بیرل است. پیشنهاد مبالغ کلان می تواند این افراد را وسوسه کند. این تازه اول راه است. بارون ترامپ منتظر
That's crazy. They're saying target her through fashion, where she's shopping, put that nerve gas on her clothes if she buys it online. That's crazy, man. Nerve agent VX on clothes, contaminate clothes. It's wild, man. Who even knows if Iran put that out? That's what they're alleging. Allegedly aired on Tasnim News in Iran. Okay, on to the tragic death toll that the Pentagon's playing games with the numbers of dead U.S. troops here now, according to a report out of the Guardian. Pentagon reports more than 600 Iran war casualties in quiet database update. So again, over the weekend, they played these games on when it's a war, when it's not a war. We're in the war day 149, regardless of their semantical lawyer games. So after messing around with the data, as per usual government lying criminals that they are, combined with the update, Operation Epstein Fury, Epic Fury totals, the new Pentagon figures show 18 U.S. troops have been killed since the beginning of the Iran war, February 28, 2026, and 624 U.S. troops wounded there now. And it's probably even worse than that, honestly. It's probably even worse than that. New York Times reports 1,700 Iranian civilians killed by U.S. airstrikes. Both sides are stacking bodies. Stop it. Stop it now. Stop it, Trump. He needs to be impeached if he won't stop. They've lost their mind, a la Dr. Strangelove. Trump has come to, he's learned to love the bomb, right? Iran denies talks with Washington. Today, Trump said him like 2 or 3 different interviews, clips. Oh yeah, we're talking to Iran right now, and we just may start bombing them at any time again. You know what I mean? Iran says, nah, we're not even talking to him. Who's Trump talking to? Jared Kushner, again, on his shoe phone, on a can, like a can with a string. You know what I mean? He's talking to Witkoff and little Rubio. Hey, bro, how's the Strait of Hormuz doing? It's just like, what? Like, we don't have international news, and Iran's not putting out simultaneous statements. Somebody's lying, right? Either Trump's lying or Iran's lying, or they're probably both lying. But again, Iran's foreign ministry rejects Washington's claim, that's Trump saying it a bunch of times, of ongoing negotiations. They say there are no ongoing negotiations. Dude. It's ridiculous. Lindsey Graham, bless his heart. That's where Lady Lindsey Graham that's allegedly why, one of the reasons why old Milay's coming to visit, so he can pay his disrespects to Lady Lindsey Graham. Here's before his tragic passing, secret push to drag Trump into the Iran war. Let's hear this report out of the cradle. They have some the ghost of Lindsey Graham here now. Tragically enough, he's no longer with us to enjoy the murder of a bunch of Iranian civilians.
Virtually everything they have has been knocked out now. Their missile count is going way down. Amazingly,
Look what we've done here.
I know.
I almost cried.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how long have we been pushing this?
Well, I mean, you've been pushing this for years, right?
Right. It's here. I talked to Trump this morning.
It's literally.
Oh, he's jacked.
Yeah.
It's the best thing I've ever done. He loves blowing stuff up. So, there are a lot of people inside didn't want to do it. So I've had my challenges. But President Trump, when he gets into the zone, he listens, he asks good questions, no tweeting. He has done nothing, he hasn't tweeted much at all, no drama. He's been a great wartime president. I said last night that Trump and Bibi are like Roosevelt and Churchill. I mean, they're the right two guys to confront.
Yep, burn in hell, Lindsey Graham, you war criminal, piece of garbage. Truly disgusting. They're laughing about it. Ha ha. Oh yeah, Iran was an imminent nuclear threat. Trump told us they were going to nuke us in 2 weeks. They've been trying to sell it for the last, 30, 40 years to go ahead and bomb Iran. Truly disgusting. Let's see. Bibi said the U.S. Secretary of State, little Marco Rubio, had once again assured him during their call that Washington intends to act forcefully against the ICC, International Criminal Court. He accused the court of putting justice worldwide at risk and of undermining the ability of democratic sovereign states to exercise sovereignty, saying it works to place their security in the hands of what he called a corrupt clique in The Hague. Reportedly now over Iraq, another MQ-9A Reaper reconnaissance strike drone has been shot down over Iraq's Bible, modern day Babylon province. So we're literally Old Testament Babylon right back there. U.S. officials worry Putin and Xi may see depleted American munition stockpiles drained by the Iran war as an opening for moves against Ukraine, Europe, and Taiwan. Chinese analysts have called the U.S. a giant with a limp. A giant with a limp. And that's a report out of the New York Times there. Trump seems trapped by Iran war, even as he wields the world's biggest hammer. Are China and Russia going to see this as an opening to make moves? Very possible. As Chinese analysts say, they see America now as a giant with a limp. Trump just claimed he paused bombing Iran to give negotiations a chance. Let's watch this short report from Rick Sanchez. Huh? Iran says they're not talking to the White House.
And then, of course, the McDaddy, when it comes to the U.S. vassal in this region, is Jordan. There it is, right above me right there. See that? That's the Muwafaq Salti Air Base, right? Which was created essentially for the defense, partially destroying the infrastructure and the perimeter, the logistics center. So, I mean, that's what we're told. We're told it was a partial destruction of the logistics center and most of the base. So, I mean, as you look at what they did in Jordan and what they've done in Bahrain, the Iranians, and what they've done in Kuwait, in the places from where the United States it's going to stage its troop movement, its boots on the ground, as we always say, to go into Iran, that may have something to do with why all of a sudden Friday the United States called off the attacks. So ask yourself then, is it a mission accomplished for the United States after restarting its attacks on Iran? Or is it something very different that we're seeing happening? The evidence on the ground seems to suggest that Iran has once again stood its ground, right? And if nothing else, it's not to say they're winning or anything like that. Some people do say that, though. What it's shown is that it can handle just about everything that the United States military throws at them.
We need to say mission accomplished and end it now. On to Fauci diary. U.S. Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. Senator Rand Paul put this out. The reading room. Case file back cover up. And here's all the details there. I'll link to it at Weaponized News Substack. A Senate investigation conducted by Senator Rand Paul revealed that his partner there, Mitch McConnell, is high functioning. No, I added that. Revealed that Dr. Fauci kept a diary throughout the bat times in which his observations often directly contradicted his public messaging about the bats. The junior senator from Kentucky released Fauci's entries from December 2019 to December 2022 in a thread on X over the weekend. On January 26, 2020, roughly 2 months before the American public entered quarantine, Fauci wrote, we know the market was not the source. It was the amplifier, referring to the Wuhan wet market at which many speculated the bats originated from. It's fine to write in your diary the exact opposite of what you are telling this country to keep us safe if it's for our own good, and we trust the science here at Weaponized News. Fauci's personal diary just got released, and it's brutal, self-absorbed, fame-seeking, celebrity-worshiping, and power-mad liar. Yeah, well, he could dunk a ball. He's 5'4", but he can slam dunk a basketball. He was a great basketball star, we were told. And we have no reason to question that because they've told the truth about everything else, obviously. So let's see here now. A little bit more about this. Coming out of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, Fauci's meticulous notes, near daily personal diary entries, and related records spanning the bat times have been released. Over 1,000 pages in total across this document dump. I really don't want to get that much into it. Honestly, I'm still shy of being mean to Fauci. He saved us, YouTube. I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean? All the links will be at Weaponized News Substack. Let's see. Fauci's private diary reveals he estimated bat case fatality rate at 0.2 to 0.3% in February 2020. Weeks later, he told Congress under oath that the bat had a higher mortality rate. Yeah. We reported all that at the time when it actually mattered here at Weaponized News, just to let you know. But hey, Fauci saved us. That's all we know. And proof of that is he got the pardon from Biden without ever even being charged with a crime. So that's all we really need to know. More, yeah. There's just a whole bunch here. Again, I honestly don't even feel like covering it. I don't even know why are they replaying 6-year-old news here now to distract us away from all the other corruption. Much of this was known at the time. So I'll post all the links, and I got a bunch. There's threads, the X thread, the big report right from Rand Paul's office. All of this be posted at Weaponized News Substack. Pardon me if I'm a little bit shy on in-depth reporting on the bats. We've already done it, okay, and paid the price for it. So there you go. On to here now. They're handing out medals at the Department of War. Secretary of War, what do you do with the drunken Hegseth? Presents Mexican Border Defense Medal to service members. Earlier today, Department of War Secretary Hegseth recognized 50 U.S. service members, including for the first time Marine Corps personnel, with the Mexican Border Defense Medal. And so they're claiming zero, not Gambongino Illuminati zero, but like zero illegals have crossed the border since they've fully militarized it. And again, is that to keep illegal aliens out, or is that to keep us in, or a combination of the two? It appears. Handing out 50 medals today to the Mexican Border Defense Unit. Here's former Border Patrol Commander Greg Bavino talking about, they're trained by the IDF. It's not really new news. Hell, over here, Fresno Police Department, where I'm at locally, I remember, over 15 years ago, that, Fresno Police Department goes over and trains domestic counterterrorism training from the IDF. I don't know what we do without them. You know what I mean? Treating the general public over here like domestic terrorists.
Israel, the nation over there, has a lot of influence on the Israeli government, has a lot of influence on our politicians over here, I think, is what he was kind of getting at.
I see, yeah. And I'm not a politician, so I don't know. And, it's the only dealings I ever had with the Israelis is when I was a young agent with Border Patrol Tactical Unit. They sent me to a VIP security school, and it was ran by the Israelis. And let me tell you
so IDF actually does work with Border Patrol and ICE, because I've always heard that.
Well, it was that school was for all law enforcement. It was they put it on. It was Israeli. They contracted with Israeli instructors. They had a lot of experience, and they were really good. I'll hands off some of the best training I've ever had. They did not F around. So that was back, 2000, 2001. But I understand what people are saying. Perhaps there is an outsized influence by Israel. I've never really been up against that, but then again, I'm not a politician. Israel wouldn't, influence me, the Mossad or whatever. However they do that, I'd like to know what is the influence? How do they do that?
The Mossad, I don't know. You just admitted they trained you, bro. What influence do they have? We're paying illegal aliens to go home, allegedly. Temporary protected status is exactly that, temporary. For those with terminated temporary protected status, it's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. It's not too late to get a $2,600 check and a free flight home. From Department of Homeland Security posted that earlier today. We're not getting the massive deportations. We're begging illegals to leave here now. And they look the other way as we continue to report. Trump administration looks the other way on the low-hanging fruit. You could clear out a lot of illegal aliens just by simply targeting their employers for whatever the reason, inside dealings, payoffs, and the like. Trump and his administration looked the other way on employers in this country employing illegal aliens illegally. That's a major part of it right there that they refuse to even acknowledge and just look the other way. And so we're not getting our mass deportations. Another promise made, another promise broken by the Trump administration. Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, says ICE reviewing vetting after Maine agent's domestic violence accusations. Border czar Tom Homan said yesterday that ICE's vetting and training processes are under review. I remember when they announced you need no education, no age requirement, and you just have IDF tell you shoot people in the face and cool, bro. Like basically that was it. The agent involved in the fatal Maine shooting of Johanna Sebastian Durhan Guerrero had a history of domestic violence accusations that should have flagged him during vetting. They said that was a feature, not a bug, of the vetting process. And they appreciate wife beaters being ICE agents. No, I added that part, excuse me. Holman told CNN that some changes were also made to vehicle stop procedures. But why would you do that? Just say they weaponized the vehicle against me and shoot them in the face. That's what we've seen. Including new guidance requiring at least one body camera on such stops following that shooting and a separate fatal ICE shooting of Lorenzo Salgudo Acurio in Houston days earlier. On to Epstein reporting here now. The flight network behind Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking operation, report out of Bloomberg. See if we can fit this. I got quite a map here. See if we can fit this thing. See if we can fit this global map on the screen for you. Give you a better idea. There you go. The flight network behind Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking operation. And you could see centered there in London, Paris, as you would expect, New York, West Palm Beach, and of course, Epstein Island, St. Thomas, and then off into these other locales. But you can see the main trafficking hubs here. Of course, using the modeling and fashion industry to lure in young women looking for fame and fortune, and then get them hooked up with the trafficking network run out of London, Paris, New York, West Palm Beach, and of course, Epstein Island. Give us a little bit visual about it. Thousands of flights booked by PDF financiers, staff, connected associates, and victims to global network of properties. Let's see here. We'll have to come back to that one, actually, but I wanted to show you the visual there so you can get an idea. It was indeed a global network of trafficking. Aren't you tired of these PDFs protecting fraudsters, constantly screwing you over while trying to cover up what their friends and donors did to young women and children? Turns out Maine Senator Susan Collins took money from Epstein associates while voting to hide files. And so we wouldn't have it any other way with our corrupt Senate. You can see that out of the Courier newsroom. The mysterious deaths of Jeffrey Epstein's friends, report out of UK Telegraph. It was just all coincidence. You know what I mean? And so none of this is part of a larger conspiracy. It's all just a coincidence. The mysterious deaths of Jeffrey Epstein's friends focuses on the recent death of French modeling scout Daniel Said and situates it within a longer pattern of deaths among people connected to Jeffrey Epstein. It's all just coincidences, I'm sure. Well, Said was 69, so I'll give him that. You know what I mean? 69, and who knows what this guy's doing. Probably a bunch of drugs. Who knows? So he was, dead last week. We reported on that. Daniel Said, modeling scout, found dead near his home in Paris, reportedly due to cardiac arrest, despite no prior illness. That's fine, 69. I can accept that. Let's see. Epstein himself didn't kill himself. Somebody whacked him. He was found dead at Metropolitan Correctional Center in a cell, allegedly hung himself. You go and look at the details. That's highly unlikely. Jean-Luc Burnel died in February 2022. He was a French modeling agent and MC2 co-founder. He was found hanged in his Paris prison cell while he was awaiting trial on charges of rape of a minor and minor sex trafficking. Virginia Guffrey alleged she had been forced into sex with him. She publicly expressed disappointment that she could not confront him in court. Mark Middleton died in May 2022. He was the former special assistant to Bill Clinton. Don't look up Clinton body count. Those are all just tragic coincidences, the stack of bodies in the wake of Bill and Hillary Clinton's escapades. Bill Clinton, who facilitated multiple White House visits by Epstein and flew on Lolita Express, found at Arkansas Ranch hanged from a tree by an extension cord with a shotgun wound to his chest, ruled suicide, obviously. Associates called the scene completely implausible. Conspiracy theorists, we here at Weaponized News believe he hung himself and shot himself in the chest with a shotgun. It's perfectly reasonable explanation there. Stephen Hoffenberg died August 2020. Epstein's early mentor and Ponzi scheme operator found dead in his Connecticut apartment after roughly a week of his body decomposing. Official cause, natural death. He had later sued Epstein, claiming the financier was the true architect of the fraud and had befriended Epstein accuser Maria Farmer. Sure, that was all natural causes, obviously. Alfredo Rodriguez died December 2014. Epstein's former Palm Beach butler died of cancer, mesothelioma, at age 60. He was previously caught in an FBI sting trying to sell Epstein's little black book. Remember that? Yeah. He got the fast-acting cancer. Joe Ricari died in 2018. Palm Beach detective who led the mid-2000s investigation into Epstein died age 50 after a brief illness. That's fine. Police live a high-stress lifestyle. You know what I mean? Died at age 50 there. Nothing to see. Thomas Bowers died in 2019. He was Deutsche Bank executive whose institution maintained Epstein as a client after his 2008 conviction, found hanged in his Malibu home. Deutsche Bank later paid a large fine for his relationship with Epstein. Yeah. He had a conscience and hanged himself. Perfectly reasonable. Steve Bing, 2020, Hollywood producer and high society figure who moved into overlapping circles with Epstein and Bill Clinton, jumped from the 27th floor of his Los Angeles condominium. Sources claimed a late girlfriend had urged him to make a statement about what he knew about Epstein, and he just couldn't do it and threw himself to his death from his 27th floor LA condominium. That happens all the time. Pattern and implications. And all this is coming from UK Telegraph. The article stresses the cumulative effect. Multiple potential witnesses, facilitators, investigators, and peripheral figures have died before full testimony or trials could occur. Official causes vary from suicide, natural cause of death, undetermined. And so I'm sure it's all legitimate findings by the authorities. Yet the timing and circumstances repeatedly fuel theories of foul play or systemic protection of powerful interests. Saeed's death is presented as the latest that reinforces this pattern of noticing odd trends of, again, those around Epstein committing suicide, dying of natural causes or undetermined cause of death. Todd Blanche told the Senate, again, he's interim attorney general. He's covering up the Epstein files. Todd Blanche trying to get confirmed to be official attorney general, former Trump's personal attorney. Some would argue, myself included, he's still Trump's personal attorney. Justice, law and order for America. Todd Blanche told the Senate that the DOJ remains committed to pursuing any and all investigative leads in the Epstein case. The survivors who met with him the previous day said he gave no indication that he believed any leads were worth pursuing or that he intended to seek accountability beyond Epstein and Maxwell. Congress should ask for more than assurances, which leads are open, which investigative steps have been taken, and who is responsible for deciding whether they go anywhere. It's a Democrat hoax, and you're a communist if you talk about it, according to Trump. Letter from Epstein survivors. Again, I'll link to all this for documentation and further research purposes. They're going after these two lame duck senators, Tillis and Cornyn there, who have the TDS. I don't even know about Tillis, but I know that Cornyn lost his Senate primary there, did not get the Trump endorsement. So now he's holding up Trump nominations, specifically in this case, the nomination of Todd Blanche as Attorney General. Good for him. Good for him, man. Get some on the way out. Meet the woman who stands to inherit much of Epstein's fortune. Karyna Soliak 37 years old, is a complicated and unusual figure in the disgraced PDF's world, who has been trying to blend into obscurity since his death. The New York Times put out an article about it. The young dentist was smiling and soft-spoken, wearing a Columbia University fleece jacket and holding her long hair back with a clip. She was introduced by her assistant, simply named as Dr. Karina. And so she's set to inherit a whole bunch. Epstein called before he killed himself in the jail cell in 2019. She could inherit as much as $100 million from his estate, including the 33, they had to get the 33 columns in there, 33-carat diamond ring, according to a trove of investigative reports released by federal authorities. So they should actually seize all those assets and give them to the victims, but I'm sure they'll find a way to launder those assets and funds in that regard. And here's Trump's newest line. If you accuse him of being what he is, a PDF protector, he'll call you a communist. And so they're destroying the meaning of all words to the point where, yeah, racism, anti-Semitism, communism, none of it means anything, but they're still all PDF protectors. Don't ever forget that.
These companies were coming in and just robbing us blind, and it was causing tremendous problems for your jobs. But now all of that is changing because I placed historic tariffs on foreign producers and manufacturers, including a 25% tariff on foreign automobiles, something that no other president had the courage to ever do. He's a communist. He's a communist.
Well, I'm not a communist, and we're calling you out here, Trump. So how you like that? Could more Epstein files be released soon? Redacted docs will be reviewed by judge this week. Report out of Forbes magazine. The Justice Department will turn over unredacted Epstein files to a federal judge this week as part of a dispute over whether they should be publicly released, potentially teeing up a set of new documents to be released despite the Trump administration's effort to keep them under wraps. Judge Emmett Sullivan ruled Saturday the DOJ must turn over a set of redacted or withheld documents about Epstein to the court by Thursday so that the court can review the documents in camera. That's their legal terminology, meaning privately without other parties or the press present. The files at issue include multiple emails about women where the name of the person Epstein was emailing is redacted, as well as FBI notes regarding allegations against Trump, documents that aren't in English, and names of potential Epstein co-conspirators in a draft indictment against the financier. Journalist Kathy Fang sued the DOJ, arguing keeping the files hidden violates the Epstein Files Transparency Act and her right to report on them. And while Sullivan previously sided with her, the government has disputed the ruling and fought to keep the documents hidden. Yeah, they're covering it up at the Trump Department of Justice. Blanche-led DOJ likely to derail Epstein survivors' pursuit of justice, experts say. Report out of UK Guardian. Yeah, just more of, he doesn't give a damn about the survivors. It's a joke. And the whole claim that the redactions are protecting the victims is bull BS by their own actions. They doxed the victims, put out their names, even naked pictures of some of the victims, and so on and so on. So all of their claims at the Justice Department that they care about the victims and we care about justice and law and order are complete and utter bullshit. Again, the government is an organized crime syndicate. All right, let's take our live commercial break. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. We covered a lot of news, blasted through it there in the first hour. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Go to weaponizednews.com/shop. The link's in the description below this video, right down there. Get yourself a holograph sticker. We have holograph stickers at the shop. We have the white background sticker right there, you can see, and the clear sticker. weaponizednews.com/shop. We got stickers, coffee mugs, baseball caps, t-shirts, shot glasses. As some in the audience say, this show may induce heavy bouts of drinking. Any which way you choose to celebrate or mourn the news of the day here, brought to you by Weaponized News, is appreciated. Go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Patron the store there. It's appreciated. Go take a look at the items. We take donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App. Links all in the description below this video. There's also a secure PayPal donation button right on the front of weaponizednews.com. You can't miss it. Any which way you choose to support us is truly appreciated. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. I mentioned the details about the bat times and Fauci. I'm not even going to report on it anymore. I'm sick to the back of my teeth about it. But all the details will be linked up at Weaponized News Substack channel. It's all free, nothing behind a paywall. Show your support for independent reporting and analysis, brought to you 5 days a week. Broadcasting live, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern Time. weaponizednews.com. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. Any which way you choose to support us is truly appreciated. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Thank you for bearing with me through that commercial message. Welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Monday, July 27, 2026 edition. Shout out to Plutonium out there. If I missed you, I did miss him. He gave us a super chat, I believe $5. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it, sir. On Friday, and so we missed his comment there, but I told him that he had messaged me and said, am I no longer shouting out super chats? And I honestly did miss it. I believe he was said he had some interaction with Drew TV and got blocked by him, something like this. And so that's sad. And I think that was the gist of the super chat. If not, just message me and I will say your message that you want to say for that super chat. And again, thank you very much for the super chat and apologies for missing it on Friday. We'll try to circle back at the end of this broadcast and get to the chats. But you gotta realize that when we go live, sometimes they just hit you with bot swarms of trolls, and it's pretty crazy in the chat, honestly. So pardon me there. Trying to keep this whole thing rolling and somewhat sane in the chats. All right, on to economic reporting now. Economic section of the show. We start with a report out of Fortune magazine. They say, despite nearing their 60s, nearly 4 in 10 Americans heading towards the end of their careers don't have a retirement account because they're trying to balance everything and don't have the funds to put in a retirement account. They're trying to pay the bills to put, to eat. Michael Burry, he's the Big Short dude, right? From got famous at 2008 collapse, calling that the subprime mortgage crisis. For those that are old enough to remember, I know having a memory is a conspiracy theory. You do well to remember 2008 bailouts, too big to fail, too big to jail, banks, and that's where we learned capitalism, according to Wall Street, means privatize the gains and socialize the losses. We don't have a capitalism economic system. We shouldn't even have that. Honestly, we should have American free enterprise if you want to get right down to the bare bones. And so we have none of that. We don't have the fake systems they teach you in school. We have a rigged up fraud, scam, Ponzi scheme economy run by private central bank cartel. And that's the truth of the matter. And they won't tell you that in your university economic education. I will tell you that here at Weaponized News. We got another 33 columns out of CNBC now. They say 33% of the workplace retirement plan participants said they have more credit card debt than retirement savings. And so that's a very bright picture of the future for those in those programs, obviously. Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, said, "We have, in fact, left the lower income folks behind." And then they laughed and spit in everybody's face, and they got down and worshiped top criminal there, JP Morgan Chase. I added that part, but he did say we have left the lower income folks behind. 1 in 10 Americans relied on buy now, pay later loans last year, with a third failing to make their payments, according to Yahoo Finance. So all these are signs of a golden age in the economy. The richest 34 Americans now control roughly $2.6 trillion in wealth, equal to a record 12% of U.S. national income. That's according to the Financial Times. And that it just shows you these are not some great geniuses. It's all rigged. Okay. It's all rigged. Schemes, scams, fraud is how they're this rich. Give me a freaking break. Data centers are not what people hoped for or expected when Trump promised a manufacturing boom. More Perfect Union says, you think? Oh, everybody wants a camera up their rear end and a colon exam. That's one of the funnest times that we have in our life. A broader manufacturing boom across Michigan. Michigan is winning massive investments in advanced manufacturing, energy, aerospace, and technology. OpenAI, Oracle, and related digital are investing more than $7 billion in a major data center campus in Saline Township, building out the technocracy. Blackout fears erupt as 17 U.S. states are placed under power emergency orders. Blackout fears are growing for 20 million Americans as extreme heat pushes the power grid towards its limits. Yesterday, the Department of Energy authorized the operator serving parts of 17 states to activate idle power sources in an effort to keep the lights on. The move allows backup plants that are normally switched off to generate extra electricity if surging demands threaten to overwhelm the grid. The emergency order covers Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Minnesota, Missouri, and Montana. It also includes Nebraska, New Mexico, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming. And so you don't need any power. It's for the data centers, people in those states. They're just greedy. And it's like 100 degrees all across the south there. And so, yeah, you should probably have a heat stroke because the data centers are more important. Data Center Alley, a section of Virginia with the densest concentration of data centers in the country. Let's go to that report. So they should have everything. We should have nothing. And they should use us to actually be fuel cells to fuel the data centers, a la the Matrix, or you're against U.S. national security.
Something happened on Wednesday morning that you might have noticed but didn't bat an eye. It happened inside thousands of your homes and businesses And experts say it's a sign the cracks are starting to show in our power infrastructure.
Yeah, just before 8 a.m., the electricity flickered on and off for about 10 minutes. It was the result of data centers in Loudoun County, Virginia. In a story you will only see on News 4, Northern Virginia Bureau reporter Drew Wilder explains why engineers say this seemingly small blip is a sign our infrastructure is in danger.
Experts say the cracks in our infrastructure grid are starting to show as the data center industry consumes electricity at a rate the world has never experienced. Wednesday morning, that crack became visible to millions of Americans inside their own homes in a seemingly small way.
This is what experts are worried about, right? The data centers are such a big load on the grid that they can have detrimental impact on the surrounding grid.
Bob Marshall runs Ting Labs and sells this little device that plugs into your wall to monitor your home's electricity. And it can alert you if something's awry. It's all to prevent an electrical fire.
You plug it in, connect it to Wi-Fi. It takes 30 million electrical measurements every second.
And with millions of these devices in homes across the country, Marshall's data collection saw something that he says should be a concern for all of us. He says at 7:56 Wednesday morning, our lights flickered because the electricity supply dropped, then spiked, then dropped, then spiked before leveling off about 10 minutes later. Electric grid instability felt from Chicago to Boston to Miami. The source, he says, Data Center Alley.
This one event serving either one building or whatever that data center complex is in Ashburn impacted the entire region here. And, you know, this is what experts are worried about.
Dominion Energy tells News 4 a transmission line servicing a data center failed. So the data centers switched to their own power supply, temporarily leaving the grid. In a statement to News 4, a Dominion Energy spokesperson said, quote, Dominion Energy did not disconnect area data centers from the grid. The data center's own control systems transferred them to backup power for a very short period of time. Think of it like ripples in water. The data center is switching their power sources, the rock, and when that change impacts the water, or the power grid in this analogy, the massive shift in electricity load sent ripples through the electric current across half the country. Ting Labs provided News 4 with this graphic that shows the scale of the service disruption. The company says the colors on this map should all stay the same. The big changes in colors means there's a change in electric frequency. It covers more than half of the United States.
People working on regulations around this is they're concerned that one of these events in the future could cause the grid to become unstable, and it does not come back to normal in a few minutes or 10 minutes, and we're dealing with a real big problem.
That real big problem could be a blackout. In this case, Dominion Energy's safety equipment kicked in, worked as intended, and mitigated the issue.
The whole industry is facing things they've never faced before, and they are doing their best to figure out what's going on and institute preemptive measures. And I think for the most part, they've been able to do that.
Bob Marshall says there is clear correlation between the data center boom and the instability in our electric grid, though he stopped short of drawing causation. But he does say that these types of events are happening more and more regularly than they ever have before.
That's exciting. No correlation without causation. They love that one. They admit it, but yeah, you should have nothing and everything for compute power, for technocracy. Trump is on the verge of changing nuclear safety regulations so that the government no longer tries to keep human exposure to radiation as low as possible. So more, for over 50 years, the standard has been keeping radiation exposure as low as reasonably achievable. Now under Trump, the top nuclear regulator is the U.S. is preparing to scrap this decades old safety rule. It's healthy for you to be radiated, obviously. Billionaire spending in presidential elections. That's why this whole thing is a giant joke. They'll scream, democracy, we have to win the midterms or the commies are taking over. Well, take a look here. Take a look. They're going to spend, billionaires have already poured $433 million into 2026 midterms. Freaking joke. It's democracy. Your vote matters, bro. What a joke. U.S. taxpayers spend about $2 billion every year on Medicaid. They're still running these programs. I talked about it a little bit on Friday, I think. Yeah. U.S. taxpayers are subsidizing Medicaid and other welfare programs for Amazon and Walmart employees, essentially subsidizing the benefits of those corporations for their employees. And we talked about it. The welfare state creates disincentive to do better because of these thresholds they have in place where dudes making, I don't have all the current thresholds, but just an example, dude's making $20 an hour and has 4 kids, and he could be making, I don't know, $25 an hour. But if he does that, it's going to push his income over the threshold, rough numbers example here, right, to where he won't qualify for any of these government welfare benefits. And so he will say, I don't want that $5 an hour more raise, right? Because it's going to take away all my benefits, because that will push me over the threshold and I will no longer qualify. You see how the welfare state disincentivizes worker success in those terms. And Amazon, Walmart, many others are using the social safety net, the welfare programs of America for the poor, to go ahead and subsidize their workers' benefits. See how that scam works. New York City run a grocery store to offer 30% discounts on produce. That's going to be interesting to see how this sorts out. That's the AP. See how that New York City run a grocery store sorts out. We're going to have to follow that one. Made in Michigan again. Trump went and did a big rally, how they're building technocracy, and it's wonderful. No, that he claims they're bringing auto manufacturing back to Michigan, maybe in some cases. Made in Michigan again. President Trump's trade agenda is supercharging American auto manufacturing, the White House tells us. Trump returns to Michigan today. He went there earlier today to visit the General Motors proving ground in Milford, Michigan, and celebrate the roaring comeback of American auto manufacturing under his leadership. Don't they have to put that tracking box, I believe, every so it's told police, surveillance state, scientific dictatorship, technocracy. It's wonderful. You have to have the tracking. What do you got to do? Like essentially take a DUI test through facial recognition to even start your vehicle. Here now, I believe that's mandated on all new vehicles manufactured at the beginning of next year, something like this. I may be a little bit off, but I know that has already become law. When it's actually going to be implemented, I believe at the beginning of next year. And so that's going to be another wonderful piece of technocracy, the control grid for our own safety, of course. The price of a gallon of gasoline now hanging tough above $4 with the Strait of Hormuz essentially closed. We're at $4.11 according to AAA and national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline. Let's take a look here. You can see it right there. It's killing us, but as long as Iran doesn't get a nuke, then hell, have fun living in poverty and believing the propaganda and lies coming out of Aardvarkland and Trump administration. It's well worth it to live in poverty and have a never-ending stream of lies being pumped down our throats by this crime syndicate. According to Brown University, the Watson School of International and Public Affairs, the total consumer cost burden of energy spread across the Iran war starting on February 28, 2026 is now $74.9 billion. You can see right here. And I believe it's a lot higher than that. And then per household cost burden spread across both gasoline and diesel is now up to $571.47. And we love it because we love being lied to by Shadow President Millet and Orange Man. And so we do appreciate it. Here's a short Lego video released by Iran. And that is a reference to the talk about invading Kurag Island, is what that Iranian Lego video is in reference to. Saudi oil loading volumes dropped 40% at Red Sea port amid Yemeni blockade. So again, 20, we'll just call it 25% of petroleum goes through there. And now both sides are blocked. And it's and all these other inputs, fertilizer, all these other inputs that pass through, they're all blocked. Let's take a look at the map here. So again, straight from Moose right here, you got Iran on one side, their guns pointed. You got America, our guns pointed, right? And it's a very tough neighborhood driving through here. And if you don't do what Iran says, they'll shoot you in the face. If you don't do what America says, they'll shoot you in the face. And then down here, this little strait right here into the Red Sea, Yemen's in a war with Saudi Arabia, and they're essentially blocking this strait. So 20 to 25% of the world's petroleum derivatives, the liquid natural gas, all of this different stuff, we covered it, all these vital inputs into a bunch of technology, into the agricultural sector, and so on. And so they've created now a global energy crisis that will lead to a global famine, pushing millions into starvation and tens of millions into poverty in the third and fourth worlds. And they're working on pushing us into poverty here in America as well. Venezuela's acting president, Dulce Rodriguez, met with U.S. Representative Randy Fine, ultra-Zionist traitor to this country, I might add. I added that to this report, who previously urged Aardvarkland to launch attacks on Lebanon and who has described the Palestinian cause as an evil one. Fine noted in a post on X that what was clear from our meeting with people at all levels of government and business in Venezuela was this President Trump's decision to remove Maduro. They stole their president, their gold and oil. President Trump's decision to remove Maduro set this country on a trajectory to be a key ally of the United States and an energy powerhouse to benefit us all. And they literally can't account for the money, like 13 billion or something in Venezuelan oil revenues. It just went missing. Who cares that the Venezuelans are living in abject poverty? They deserve it. They're communists, right? Sure. Drone struck Saudi Aramco's Abqaiq crude processing facility, the kingdom's largest with satellite imagery indicating potential damage to multiple processing units. And so, Yemen Houthis whacked them there. Here's that satellite imagery. You can see right there, Saudi's Armacos. Yeah, they whacked them right there. You can see facility was hit in drone strike by Iran-backed militia groups operating in Iraq. Wow. I thought that was, so this is a different one. This is saying the attack came out of Iraq. Yemen, the Houthis, they know how to party, right? They show up at the rallies with AK-47s and swords. Those guys, yeah. Yemeni Armed Forces and Nasrallah spokesman says, praised be to God, a number of sensitive targets and points related to the supply and transportation of crude oil from eastern Saudi Arabia to Yamba were targeted by a number of drones in response to Saudi enemies' drone incursions into Yemeni airspace. This dude, we've highlighted him numerous times. And back to the map for a second. Let's take a look. So the attacks are coming from here, right? Yemen Houthis coming from here up in there targeting, but they're also coming from here, right? From alleged Iranian proxy militia groups firing from here. So they got them on both ends. See that? And from here. So they got them in a three-way, Saudi Arabia, that is, and blocking, again, both these shipping lanes. China says it will retaliate if the United States sanctions Chinese AI companies over claims they copied American AI models through distillation. Beijing calls the accusations baseless and AI hegemony, defends distillation as a common industry practice, and urges AI cooperation instead of sanctions. The dispute follows U.S. accusations that Chinese firms used OpenAI and Anthropic models to accelerate their own AI development. That's a report out of Reuters. China accuses U.S. of AI hegemonism, threatens countermeasures over potential probes. So they got to do their part in the AI Cold War, stoking that rhetoric. Obviously, they're all working together. France is on fire, as we continue to report here now for the last few days. France President Macron said, "We are facing a fire that is completely unprecedented. We are experiencing the most severe situation we have ever recorded, the worst since the Second World War. More than 160,000 hectares have already burned, and the fire season is far from over. That is far more than the record levels we have seen in previous years. That is the result of an exceptional drought over recent weeks, which has dried our forests, stripped away their moisture, and made them far more vulnerable. We must be clear-eyed. The weeks ahead will be difficult, and we must hold firm." I'm sure it's fine. No aardvark arson was involved there. Here's some images. Apocalyptic wildfire near France's Bordeaux. So massive it's creating thunderstorms. The blaze is destroying villages, threatening famous Rothschild vineyards. And that's what really matters. So they should just let their whole country burn. As long as Rothschild vineyards don't have a problem, then everything should be A-OK. And it goes on. Massive fires there in France. Wildfires in France are now directly threatening the Rothschilds' legendary wine estates in the historic city of Bordeaux. I know. What are we going to do? I'm shaking right now reporting on it. I'm sure they have insurance, so probably not much to worry about. And they probably had a hand in starting the fires. There you go. Should have painted your roof blue, right? I don't believe that works, but it's been rumored online to deflect the directed energy attacks. I don't believe that's true, honestly, but I've seen that out there. You probably have as well. So not wasting any time, as a new prime minister for Big Brother UK there, Andy Burham, jumping right into the Russian war, met up with Zelensky, said, we're providing new homegrown jamming technology to protect Ukrainian drones. It will help them hit their targets and help save Ukrainian lives, like they care about Ukrainian lives or any life for that matter. It also shows the kind of innovation our industries can deliver together. They made that announcement earlier today.
As a sign of our intent, I can announce today that we are going further. We're providing new, homegrown jamming technology to protect Ukrainian drones.
I just can't even take it with these guys, man. Putin had to say, over the past 3 to 4 years, unlike other developed economies, Russia has maintained fourth place in the world by purchasing power parity, behind only China, United States, and India. We are fourth in the world and first in Europe in terms of economic growth. We are also ahead of the European Union. Of course, we would like to see even more growth, but there are risks, particularly the risk of rising inflation and its consequences. Putin went up, this is a leader of the Communist Party of the Federation of the Russian Federation, Gennady Zyuganov. This dude right here, out of Russia. He says the Anglo-Saxons and NATO have declared a war of total destruction against the Russian world, a war against civilization with a 1,000-year history that time and time again has shielded the much praised Europe from invasion and total destruction. From the time of Napoleon to Hitler, we not only stood our ground, but demonstrated the most important thing that ensures victory: unity. Putin went on to say, the people of Russia can never be broken. That has never happened, and it never will. Russia will achieve its objectives in the special military operation, Putin claimed. CNN confirms that Ukraine attacked a vessel in the Caspian Sea. And so it's looking like Ukraine is joining in. They attacked an Iranian vessel Ukrainian President Zelensky claimed the ship was transporting military cargo to Russia. Iranian authorities said the vessel was civilian and reported that one person was killed in the attack. So watch this report out of CNN about that. Ukraine is helping in the Iranian war, killing Iranians.
Yeah, Becky, I think it's a calculated risk for Ukraine here. I just want to be clear, we're not 100% sure at this point what exactly happened. We have different accounts from different sides. Ukraine says it hit cargo ships that were under international sanctions, as well as a sort of missile boat, a military ship. It's not saying which countries they were flagged under or owned by. It's saying they were involved in transporting military equipment between Iran and Russia. Those were the exact words of President Zelensky over the weekend. Iran, of course, on the other hand, is saying that one cargo ship, civilian cargo ship, was hit and one seafarer was killed and several injured, and the ship was on its way from Russia to Iran. So we have different accounts there, but why would Ukraine take the risk here, I think, is a really big question. Look, on the one hand, the position of Zelensky is that Iran has effectively already attacked Ukraine through its supply to Russia of Shahed drones and then the subsequent licenses, ballistic missiles also reportedly, and so that is his sort of official position, that this is a legitimate...
Kate, this is... First of all, let's step way back. Iran has been supporting Russia in its war against Ukraine directly. They provide Shahed drones. They provide technology. Russia now has a factory producing these Iranian Shahed drones, which allows Iran to prosecute its war. This has been going on for years. And Zelensky, about 3 days ago, said that the Ukrainians struck a ship in the Caspian Sea carrying military material between Russia and Iran. Iran is now claiming that this is basically an act of war, and Iran is now threatening to attack Ukraine. So this is how these two storylines are coming together. But the cooperation between Russia and Iran has been going on for some time. But this will be a topic in the Oval Office when Zelensky...
Is this thing going to spin into straight up world war? We're like very close. Iran sends warning to Kiev in Ukrainian. Attack on Iran always comes at a price. Turns out these terrorists know how to use a translator. I don't know. They're talking in Ukrainian. Any attack on Iran always comes at a price, and this remains true today as well. The United States and Aardvark land are aware of this. Ukraine may soon also come to understand that Iran does not leave its actions unanswered. The list of those who miscalculated continues to grow. So won't that be awesome? Bringing Ukraine into the Iran war. Trump to meet Zelensky at the White House, tomorrow, July 28th, to discuss peace resolution between Russia and Ukraine. Now is the time to end the war. Let's hope so. But we've heard this talk a lot before. Let's hope so. Let's hope that the Russia-Ukraine war will finally end and it does not get any larger. Iraq busted Ukrainian spy cells behind false flag attacks on its soil. Iraqi security advisor says Ukrainian cells carried out attacks across Iraq, then pinned them on various factions. Says those arrested have confessed. So we're running according to this report, Ukraine is running a secret war against Iran via secret spy cells in Iraq, targeting Iranian militia proxy groups. Insane. Not surprising, though. Not surprising. On to the war on drugs. There's a war on everything here now via Trump. They're running, what is this now? You can go to U.S. Southern Command. They're constantly running drills. We're in a quasi-secret, quasi-public drug war in Mexico, Central and South America, and the seas, the oceans on both sides there as well. U.S. Central or U.S. Southern Command is running Solitaire 2026 military exercises based out of Chile. Here's that announcement. And there's a bunch. There's just too many exercises, drills, and training exercises to even go over. But here's one. They put out a nice little meme. Solitaire 26. It's ongoing there. Ongoing. So as we continue to report extrajudicial assassinations with no due process or murder, and the Washington Compost reports 67 boat strikes. Remember, U.S. Central Command was posting those every other day. Look at these fishermen we whacked. We're saving you from drugs. Well, thank you very much. Turns out you arrest them and you take the evidence and you like prove it in a court of law, or don't scream law and order and nobody's above the law and all this bullshit. You know what I mean? But we wouldn't have it any other way from the murderers running the U.S. government. Washington Compost reports 67 boat strikes, 221 dead. Those are straight up murders. The cocaine hasn't slowed, officials report. The president says Operation Southern Spear has virtually ended drug trafficking by sea. Pentagon and DEA analysis have concluded otherwise. Oh, I know. Shocking. Trump's a lying piece of garbage. Murderer. I know. It's shocking. They gave us a little map here. Approximate drug smuggling routes through Latin America. You can see right there. By sea, air, land. And so all right here, right? All right here. They're like, anybody out here look like a drug trafficker to me, whack you. Can see right there on these maps all the different routes. Military boat strikes haven't reduced U.S. cocaine supply, according to the DEA, because they're shipping in to make up the slack for the lack of supply. DEA is going. I add that part, but it's the truth. I mean, let's be honest. Let's not be children, and let's be honest about who and what the U.S. federal government is. It's an organized crime syndicate, the largest contraband trafficker in the world. An internal DEA report reviewed by the Washington Compost, I showed you a little bit of that, found that U.S. military strikes on suspected drug trafficking boats have not reduced cocaine supply in the United States. Instead, have prompted traffickers to shift toward larger boats hauling coastlines and aircraft routes through Guyana and Suriname. Based on the price of cocaine, the supply may have increased, according to the Washington Compost. Yeah, that's why you'll never win the war on drugs. You create a black market, and there will always be that demand, and you'll increase the price, as they already know what they're doing here now. With the Washington Compost reporting the price of a kilogram of cocaine in Florida dropping roughly 50% over the last 5 years. So see, they got mad. The price is going down, so they got to decrease the supply to increase the price. And that's the whole point of these 221 killings. They were more of a warning to try to increase the price, you see, because the government is missing out on their profit share there. is all this really amounts to. And they don't give a damn if you get a bunch of cocaine and overdose and whatever. They'd actually appreciate if you did. And if you got caught up in the world of cocaine, got shot, got put in prison, all that goes along with it, they would especially appreciate that. Don't do drugs, kids. Get all your drugs from trumprx.gov. There you go. And then here's Stephen Miller talking about as a foreign terrorist organization, the Mexican drug cartels sit in the same legal position as ISIS or Al-Qaeda. So he's like backhandedly telling us America creates, funds, arms, trains, radicalizes these terrorist groups, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. Well, we do the same by and large with the drug cartels is what I get out of this. Let's hear now from this psychopath, Stephen Miller.
As a foreign terrorist organization, the Mexican drug cartels sit in the exact same legal position as ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Except unlike ISIS or Al-Qaeda, they're not operating thousands of miles away. Again, they're operating meters from where you show up to perform your duties every single day. Those organizations not only export massive death in the form of narcotics to our country, but they also export sophisticated criminal enterprises whose objective is to destabilize our democracy and to end the rule of law in our country.
In the rule of law, they're literal murderers, all those people, especially Stephen Miller. What a joke. A sick, sick joke. And then more murder here from the Department of War. They say, they put out this meme last week. The Department of War doesn't miss. And that's of course, a GIF, Ruckus, if you're out there, GIF of the Lucas drone. The Department of War doesn't miss. The community note on X said, U.S. Tomahawk struck Minab, Iran girls' school, February 28, 2026, killing 156 innocents, 120 children. So, yeah, you don't miss. They missed. Well, they didn't miss because they did it on purpose, but they won't admit that. And as we reported on the time, kicking off the Iran war, whacking all those school kids was a ritualistic blood sacrifice. On to where are we at here now? Aardvark land occupation of Syria. They're now, well, they've been there. Now they're expanding operations. Aardvark land occupation forces stationed at the Al Jazeera barracks, Al Jazeera barracks, opened fire on residential neighborhoods in the Syrian village of Mariaya in the western countryside of Dura, there in Syria. Aardvark occupation forces launched fresh incursions and detained civilians in southern Syria. They're making moves now to expand the greater Aardvark land project into Syria, expanding the occupation there. Largest sectarian attack kills Alawite woman, injures son in Syria's Homs. It's picking up a little bit there in Syria. The violence, that is, I don't know why or how. They're run by former Al-Qaeda. They should have law and order there, right? The possible next prime minister of Aardvark land, Naftali Bennett, says that under his leadership, Palestinians will not be recognized as a state and will not be allowed to establish their own country. Yeah, two-state solution. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. And there you go. You will have nothing, and the greater Aardvark land project there will continue, and the genocide will continue. They'll have nothing. Netanyahu will reject U.S. demands for withdrawal from Lebanon, Gaza, Syria, and then we'll say we don't understand why everybody's mad, and they're stacking up bodies over there, stealing their land. We just don't know why you're anti-Septic and you hate us because we wear little hats. And it's like, bro, you're literally genociding all over the place, and you make all these fake ceasefire deals that you don't follow, and it's ridiculous. It's complete and utterly ridiculous at this point. So, yeah, Bibi's here in America with Trump right now for Lady Lindsey Graham's funeral tomorrow, I guess. And, yeah, they're not going to follow the agreement. They're going to leave us in the lurch, essentially, to take up all the slack for all of their genocidal, megalomaniacal ways. And that's what America's here to do, is be the absorb all of that for Aardvark land, right? Sure. That's why we were founded. They keep telling us. Netanyahu accuses Ma'am Danny of fomenting hate. This is rich, right? Will travel to New York despite ICC warrant. And so, obviously, any criticism, then you're anti-Septic hate. And you're like, bro, it's laid out in great academic detail. The ICC indictments, the reports from Albanese out of the UN, multiple reports, beyond any shadow of a doubt by any definition of international law of what ethnic cleansing and a genocide, apartheid state is, always has been, and always will be, says that, yeah, you, Mr. Millet, Shadow President of America, are indeed a war criminal. Sorry to report to you, that's not being hateful. That's just the truth. Apologies for telling the truth here about your actions. I'm not even trying to hate the guy. It's just, these are the facts of the matter. The continued demolition campaign of southern Lebanon continues. Here's Aardvark reconnaissance drone activity over Lebanon, deep up in Lebanon. Now you can see not just southern Lebanon, deep up in there, all right there. Since early this morning, Aardvark land occupation forces have continued their attacks on southern Lebanon, carrying out a series of controlled demolitions in the towns of Haditha, Tari, Marabah, Tel Usa, as well as on the outskirts of Adi Raun. Aardvark land artillery fire also targeted Ali al-Tari Hill, while fires broke out on the outskirts of Talusa and Markaba as a result of Aardvark land attacks. An Aardvark drone dropped several sound bombs over the town of Mansouri, while Aardvark land occupation soldiers set fire to several civilian homes in Benit Anoun. So that's much appreciated, I'm sure, by the Lebanese. There's an image. We have a few images of the ongoing demolition campaign. Aardvark land warplanes carried out 6 airstrikes on residential buildings there in southern Lebanon earlier today, according to Tassim News. Here's some still images of those attacks. You can see right there. And right there, it's ongoing. We're praying for Courtney Banu out there on the ground in Lebanon, war correspondent. They deserve it, right? Christian Zionists, Mike Huckabee, and all these evil bastards will say these Christians there in southern Lebanon deserve this treatment. You know what I mean? Here's video of a local church there in Zwatar al-Garbaya, southern Lebanon. It shows damage to the building's walls, which are riddled with bullet marks. Here's a short clip of that. These Christians there in southern Lebanon deserve it, right? Sure they do. Because they're terrorists too, just like everybody else on that land. So yeah, whacking that Christian church, the Christian Zionists, evangelicals love it. Massive aardvark land explosion targeting the town of Tabeth in southern Lebanon. You can see some still images here. That is pretty massive explosion. You can see there from a distance. And yeah, there's more photos of explosions in the distance. Ben-Gvir, Aardvark Land National Security Minister, says, I would gladly carry out terrorist executions. We know he would. He's a complete psychopath. He's a mass murderer. Ben-Gvir, you know, our favorite mass murderer. He has his noose lapel pin right there on his jacket. You can see that's a noose where they're going to carry out the final solution of Palestinians, a la the Third Reich, World War II style. They're going to wipe them all out and then say they're the victims somehow, some way. I don't know how they can get away with this, but hey, don't be an anti-Semitic hater, I guess. Ben-Gvir went on to say, we should encourage immigration from both Gaza and the West Bank. Some people may call that messianic, but I believe it's the right thing to do to build the Aardvark state. Yeah. Ethnic cleanse and genocide the indigenous population is the right thing to do for the Aardvark state. Seems reasonable enough, right? He went on to say, President Donald Trump is a businessman, but he's very naive when it comes to Iran. There is no point in negotiating with the Iranians. You have to speak through the gun sight. Well, I don't know if he's been listening, but we negotiate with bombs per what do you do with the drunken Hegseth war secretary. And little Marco essentially said the same thing. Our diplomats negotiate with bombs. I don't know what, but they're never satisfied, you see. We could get, theoretically, and it's going that way, it probably will happen, get rid of all of the Lebanese, all of the Palestinians, and they'll look for the next to attack. And that'll be us probably here. And by that time, it'll be too late. Ben-Gvir went on to say, do you know that the terrorists wet their beds at night because they're afraid? They're afraid of crazy Ben-Gvir. They're afraid of what I've done. They're afraid we'll bring crocodiles into the prisons. They probably will. They'll probably bring crocodiles into the prisons and probably teach them how to rape the Palestinians. Wouldn't surprise me. Nothing is off limits for these psychopaths of evil. Ben-Gvir, he's even criticizing Netanyahu, Milei, shadow president of America. He said he's done great things, but Hamas has not been defeated. That promise was not fulfilled. Well, that's the entire point. You can, and it also speaks to the idea. Hamas is an idea. You can't defeat an idea, and we have reported multiple IDF military men have said as much, that you can't kill an idea. Somebody needs to tell Ben-Gvir that. I think he knows, but he's self-admitted crazy Ben-Gvir. He went on to say the solution in Gaza is not to bring in a peace council. There isn't even a basis for discussing any kind of dialogue. We need to crush Hamas completely and encourage immigration from the Gaza. Well, they created Hamas. So, UK Home Office deliberately blocking Gaza family reunions and evacuations. So we do appreciate the efforts out of Big Brother. And UK, City of London, Rothschild sitting on top of all of this, using psychopathic aardvarks as they're scapegoated already, but that will continue. But helping there in the Palestinian suffering, blocking family reunions out of UK Home Office. Box holds the remains of unborn Palestinian child who died after Aardvark land occupation forces blocked an ambulance on the way to the hospital. This box has a Palestinian unborn baby inside. His mother lost her unborn child after the ambulance was held by occupation forces, and she was not able to make it to the hospital. And so there you go, another dead Palestinian baby in a box right there. Local sources report that Aardvark land occupation forces have pushed the, quote, yellow line further into Gaza, advancing eastward toward Shalah al-Din streets. They're getting very specific. Here's the video. So again, and we continue to report, they're going to push them all the way there into the Mediterranean Sea. I'll kill that music. Pushing the yellow line, we showed it on the maps. I don't have the map here with me right now, but yeah. And allegedly, this is the yellow line, right? These markers they put up. And if kids, surprised they may whack those kids playing by the yellow line marker. Gaza's Ministry of Health reported the following toll from Aardvark land attacks over the past 24 hours. 3 Palestinians have been killed, including 2 in new attacks and 1 who succumbed to earlier wounds. 12 have been injured, and 1 body has been recovered from the rubble since October 7, 2023. 73,329 Palestinians have been killed, and 174,009 injured Palestinians since October 7th, 2023. And since the fake ceasefire, October 11th, they've now recorded 1,203 dead Palestinians, with 3,900 injured and 803 bodies recovered from the rubble. There, tragically enough, Aardvark land ordered military gates and checkpoints leading to Nablus and Ramallah to be closed on Saturday evening. 1 Aardvark land checkpoint delayed an ambulance carrying a Palestinian woman who was 6 months pregnant and suffering heavy bleeding. And we showed you the dead baby in a box. There, delivered unalive. Aardvark land ultra-Zionist settlers in the occupied West Bank are on a continuing arson binge and burning the whole place down. They're targeting civilian residences in ongoing attacks. Aardvark land occupation soldiers are seen vandalizing Palestinian vehicles in the occupied West Bank. Here's some video of that. That's how you fight terrorism, obviously. I'm glad these guys trained our ICE, our local polices, and all kinds of other U.S. policing agencies. Slashing the tires there. Wow. Fighting the war on terror there in the occupied Bethlehem. Aardvark Land expands home demolition and land seizures across the occupied West Bank and Jerusalem. Yeah, it's ongoing. Aardvark Land has issued 6 military orders to seize 498 dumas of Palestinian land east of Tubas, targeting areas in Tubas, Taya Sayir al Aquiba, Ibisk, and Rabbah. The orders form part of the so-called Crimson Thread project with 360.172 dumas, around 72.3% of total, already classified by Aardvark Land as state lands. Yeah, they're taking it all as we continue to report here now. Here is hundreds of ex-IDF generals and retired security officials urged Trump to pressure Milei to curb settler violence. So isn't this the ultimate anti-Semitic attack? Oh my gosh, even the IDF is saying stop it. And they'll say you're an anti-Semitic IDF. You know what I mean? These are crazy people. Like literally they need to be put away for the good of society, locked up in a rubber room for the rest of their lives. And if we had any justice, they would also be held to account for all of their war crimes. Even the ex-IDF. Here's a short clip of these ultra-Zionist settlers. All-time classic here, right? So there you go. That's the face of the Aardvarks right there. And then finally, yeah, hundreds of former Aardvark security officials urged Trump to pressure Milei on Aardvark settler ultra-Zionist terrorism. Nearly 600 former Aardvark Land military, intelligence, police, and diplomatic officials from the so-called commanders of Aardvark Land Security Group have urged Trump to press Shadow President Milei to curb escalating ultra-Zionist settler terrorism in the occupied West Bank, warning that it threatens dozens of Aardvark Land security and U.S. interests in the region. I don't think they care at this point. It's full-on scorched earth. We're taking everything. We are that apartheid state you said we were. And yeah, you're an anti-Semitic hater if you don't like it. And we're buying up a bunch of media to censor you and spin our narrative. And that's the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be. All right, let's see here now. Let me pull up Iran International, see if they haven't blown up the world since we've been broadcasting here now live. What are the headlines coming out of Iran International? Since we've been on the air here, Trump says Iran talks have time, but warns of bigger war if they fail. Iran executes 2 more protesters. Aardvark Land Lebanese officials to discuss peace framework in Rome. That's quite laughable. War pause lays bare Tehran split over U.S. talks. Well, they came out and made the official statement we covered at the beginning of the show. Iran's unified according to their messaging. U.S. officials say sanctions may hurt Iran more than bombs. Really? Axios headline. Axios is a piece of garbage. Netanyahu to present Trump with Pickaxe Mountain intel. You already got calling Trump or once Trump by Milei. Or maybe you weren't conned and you're part of the con on the American people. And so if they bomb this Pick Mountain, Pickaxe Mountain where there's alleged nuclear dust. It's just another ridiculous sham, scheme, fraud, lie. But somehow, some way, that's going to defeat Iran. And we reported on it before, right? It's alleged that's where they're creating some type of nuclear capabilities. And it's like a giant granite mountain that we don't even have the capability to destroy, even if we wanted to, with those Moab bunker busters. It's reportedly impenetrable. So he'll probably try, I don't know. Who knows what they'll do, but that's being floated out there. I'm sure old Millet will be selling Trump a whole lot on this trip. A whole lot. Disgusting, man. Truly, truly disgusting. Let's look at Al Jazeera headlines and we'll get out of here on this Monday. Thank you, everybody, for hanging with me. I think we covered quite a bit of important news today. Latest headlines out of Al Jazeera. Trump touts very friendly talks with Iran. Iran says that we're not talking to you, bro. Who are you talking to? Oh, you're just lying to America again. Or maybe they are tricking Trump. Who knows at this point? But we know the official statements say they're not talking to you. Iraq officials say cells belonging to Ukraine carried out bombings in Iraq. We covered that. Uncertainty remains the name of the game. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good one. Pretty good headline. Mapping aardvark land settler violence in the West Bank. Yeah. A war on Iran set to top the agenda at Millet Trump meeting. Yeah, he's going to sell a bunch more propaganda and lies. And who knows if Trump's a useful idiot dupe or he's just in on the con job. It don't even really matter. Because apparently he buys whatever Millet is selling. I don't know, maybe part of $200+ million aardvark land lobbying contributions, in large part Miriam Adelson and other aardvark groups to the Trump campaign. Maybe that has something to do with it. Just saying, all of that is on the public record. I know, don't be an antiseptic hater. They're allowed to murder, cheat, and steal because they're the evil one's chosen people. I know. God forbid anyone criticize their evil actions. All right, friends, that's all the reporting we got. Let's go to the channels and check out Odysee. See if we have any viewers, in chat over there. Loading up now. All right, shout out to the viewers on the Odysee. Thank you guys for tuning in over there. Fat Bob says, Sam, you are the man. Well, thank you, Fat Bob. I appreciate it. And I would like to get Manarino on to talk economics. If you guys know his, if you have his contact, I don't know, maybe message him on Substack is the only thing I could come up with. I don't know how to contact the guy, but I would definitely like to have him on if we can. Greg Manarino, right? If we can get him on, that would be awesome. So if any of you guys out in the audience know, have his contact, message me. I'll try to set it up. Shout out to John Deep on the Odysee. Fat Bob says, watch the 1930s film Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Fox is playing on their movies TV channel. See it strictly in Masonic terms. All the props people issue revealing yet sickening, one straight into their Masonic system of control, i.e. governance. By lower income, he means those making less than 7 figures income. I think he was talking about, that was deep. I think he was talking about JP Morgan saying they've left the poors behind. Well, that's the point of the whole private central banking system owned by these commercial banks, right? That is the whole point. Yeah, that's sad. Fat Bob lost his crypto, he says, in a boating accident, as most have. Is there? Fat Bob says to Miami. I thought DeSantis said no data centers. Oh wait, Miami is a different country now connected to Orlando, and that pipeline from the Caribbean, America, and all the military and trafficking. NBC is so official and late to the game. I love Aardvark and CIA editors deep under City of London. Bob says, Smack came in and says, at least we're not speaking German. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. You guys had some good ones today. More directed energy. I don't know. Some of it kind of looks like it. You know what I mean? They're in the big fires in France. I don't know, but see, I'm back to, I think of it sometimes and I'm like, what? Why would you even waste your high exotic directed energy weapons technology when you could just pay a freaking wino to go freaking light a fire? You know what I mean? You can pay Joe Blow, illegal alien, migrant, freaking $50 to light a cigarette and go flick it in the dry grass. You know what I mean? So all this, it doesn't make a lot of sense unless it's a show of power. That would make sense. Sending messages. Smack says, I love me some Zogbot fairy tale fables. Oh, man. Fat Bob says, Fox exists to wipe out ideas and keep the phony narratives humming into new minds. Yeah. It's freaking joke. It's a sick joke. John says, I once visited a biker tattoo parlor where there was a pile of books and a sign saying, take one, leave one. I left smart drugs and nutrients and took Umberto Eco's travels in hyperreality. Quite a find in a tattoo parlor in Arkansas. Yeah, I'd say so. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee and chatting it up, keeping it lively and informative there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on X, Kick, BitChute, Substack, Rumble, and YouTube. Let's go to these chats now. Hopefully, I don't miss anything. Shout out to Mac on the YouTube, Sandwich Time. He says, sup, just got done listening to Epstein episode Sam did with Drew TV. Way to represent Weaponized News. Thank you very much for that. Diddy or Epstein? Shout out to Silver on the Rumble. Shout out to Strong. Strong says, I just want to say crypto is going higher by the end of the month. Meme coin SHIB is first to start breakout, up 30% yesterday. Ethereum Classic is also breaking out also. Yeah, no, not giving financial advice, especially crypto here, but Yeah, take a look there. Maybe something. F the cube. F the cube, Snow says. Stop being mean to Saturn. Okay. Stop being mean to Saturn, Snow. Let's see here. Wolf says, all this death and destruction for nothing more than PDFs. Ego? Yeah. Appears that way, doesn't it? Michael says, maybe you are too stupid to know that civilians are accidentally killed during a war. I know it's not right, but that's a fact about war. No, I didn't know that, but thank you for letting me know that, Michael. Piss on its grave, Silver says. I live for Sam's Hebrew. Sandwich time says. Right, that's what they sound like to me. Seriously, like clear your throat, bro. I think you're gonna choke. Look at the Heimlich maneuver. Gavin Newsom is on YouTube Live. That's funny. There you go. I do enjoy the Gavin Newsom insults. Who's it? Scribble? That's original. I haven't heard it a million times. You know, I live in California, right? I've literally heard it a million times here, brother. But I do appreciate the hate and the insults. Keep them coming. The theocracy is finding out, but by technocratic means, Max says. Yeah. There is water underground in Virginia, Lovely says. They say lay off the hair gel. Holy hell. They say I'm nuts. Corporations are people to my friends. Famed dog lover Mitt Romney. Citizens United, right? Lynn says, I'm 83 and disabled. You expect me to get a job? Are you nuts? It's the golden age in Trump's economy. Yeah. Sad to say there. Rod says, Facebook, you're allowed on Facebook. Shout out to Rod on the Facebook. Dude is trying to look like Gavin Newsom. Binga evil, MH says, yeah. They say emergency Walmart is currently out of colored hair dye and tinfoil. Not dyeing my hair, bro. So a lot of hair insults today. I appreciate that. And shout out to Karen at the end on the Rumble. Thank you for tuning in. The DEIs are running the dues. Wowzers. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on this Monday edition of Weaponized News. Let's pray for peace out there. This whole bringing Ukraine in, escalating that way, not good. Russia, Ukraine, not good. Still floating. We may whack Cuba at any time, not good. We may go back full on Attacking Iran, not good. None of it's good. It's all bad. Let's pray for peace. As always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Monday evening. And we're back here on Tuesday for more Weaponized News.